Hello, guys. So today we did the vocabulary for the new story. We started with the word depicts. Depicts means to show something. It's a fancy way of saying to show something. This painting depicts an important moment in our nation's history. So this painting shows an important moment in our nation's history. Our next word is detested. And I think we can tell from the picture that detested means to hate something, when you don't like something at all. My little sister has always detested taking medicine. You can tell from her face she is not very happy. Okay, next we have the word discarded. Discarded means to throw something away. The discarded crumpled up paper lay around the trash can. This is all the paper that people threw and missed the can and didn't pick it up. All right, next we have the word eldest. Eldest is the same meaning as the word oldest. I am the eldest of 4 children. All right, next we have ignored. When you ignore something, you act like it's not there. You don't respond, you don't acknowledge, you just act like it is not even there. Ignored. And notice that's in the past tense, ed, it has already happened. The dog sled team ignored the command to stop and kept on running. So the person behind the sled told them to stop, but they ignored and kept running. Obedience is kind of like the opposite of ignored. Obedience means to do what you're told. The dog had no obedience training and did not obey his owner's command. Obedience means that you do what you're told, you follow the command. The next word is refuge. The people took refuge in the bus shelter during the storm. Refuge is a safe place. Okay? So when it was raining outside, they took refuge by standing inside the shelter. Treacherous means dangerous. The ice and wet snow made the sidewalks treacherous to walk on. So it made them dangerous to walk on. Okay, guys, next we started the story with the vocabulary. This is on page 396 and 397. Freedom at Fort Mose. Now, if you notice, our story is written with diary entries. These are entries that one of the characters in our story has written in his diary. Okay, let's read the story together. Freedom at Fort Mose. By September of 1754, 12-year-old Lucius Jackson and his family had been living at Fort Mose in St. Augustine, Florida for a year. They were part of a group who had escaped from a plantation in South Carolina. Plantation is a big house where slave owners used to live. So they escaped from the person that owned them. They were slaves. They had heard that Fort Mose was a place of refuge for runaways. Remember, a place of refuge is a safe place for them to stay. Over the years, many people were willing to endure the treacherous journey there in return for the promise of freedom. Remember, we said treacherous is dangerous, when the conditions are dangerous. During his time at Fort Mose, Lucius kept a diary to record what happened there. 17th of September in 1754. It has been raining for more than a week now. This weather reminds me of my days learning to read and write back in Charleston. When the rains came, we couldn't work in the fields, and we were forced to stay in our cabins. We knew that Mr. Slocum, the landowner, detested getting his boots wet, so he rarely came to check on us. But remember, we said detested means that you hate something, that you don't like it at all. So the landowner didn't like to get his boots wet. So they knew that while it was raining, they didn't have to worry about him coming down to see what they were doing. He thought that all we knew were work and obedience. Miss Celia took a great risk writing letters and words on the dirt floor of the cabin for us children to learn. She said that, as the eldest member of our cabin, it was a risk she was willing to take. Learning to read was easy for me because I was so happy to learn how to turn letters into words and words into ideas. I believe that reading is a gift that cannot be measured. Mr. Samuel Cantor, I think this is Cantor, believes this too. He is a farmer who lives near us and who gave me this fine diary, he said. You are doing a good thing, Lucius. In years to come, people can read about this place and understand what we have risked to gain our freedom. Remember, obedience is when someone follows the commands that they are given. So the landowner thought that the slaves only knew how to work and to be obedient, to follow what he said. Remember, eldest means the oldest member. So Miss Celia, the oldest person in their cabin, was teaching the younger children to read and to write. October 8th, 1754. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Last night, I got to go on patrol with my father. My duty involved walking along the wall of the fort with him, looking and listening for anything unusual. It has been a while since we came under attack, but we cannot let down our guard. We also listen for any people who may be coming here to seek freedom, as we did about 1 year ago. So they go out and check to make sure everything is safe, and they also check to see if anyone else is trying to escape and come to Fort Mose. While on patrol, I thought about the night my family came to Fort Mose and how scared but hopeful all of us felt as we entered through the big heavy gates. I must stop writing now, as it is my turn to help gather palm fronds, which we lay out in the sun to dry. Once they are dry, they can be used to repair older huts and to build new ones. Each week, more people come to the fort. Our priest, Father de las Casas, keeps the records, and he tells us that there are almost 100 people now. 26th of October, 1754. Last week, a new family arrived all the way from Virginia, and like everyone else, they arrived almost starved and weak beyond belief. My mother helped the family by giving them clean clothes to replace the old ones they had been wearing. And their old ones were quickly discarded. They threw them away. The day after they arrived, I tried to talk to the boy who was about my age, but he ignored me. So he didn't say anything to him, and he didn't respond to him. The next day, I tried again to speak to the boy whose name is Will. I showed him this diary and explained that it depicts as accurately as possible our life at Fort Mose and the people who came here. He seemed surprised and asked, "You know how to read and write?" He explained that the diary shows what the life is like at Fort Mose. Yes, I told him. He looked at me without speaking, but I could see a question in his eyes. "Do you want to learn?" I asked him. "Is it not dangerous?" he said quietly, looking around to see if anyone could hear us. I smiled, remembering how long it took me to understand freedom and what it meant. "Will," I said to my new friend, "here at Fort Mose, you are free to learn, and I am free to teach you." We began our lessons right away. Okay, so these are the diary entries that Lucius wrote in the diary that was given to him by his friend. So every day he wrote something in his diary about what was happening in his life. From when he ran away, he wrote about the time that he ran away and what he felt like and what he went through. He wrote about going on patrol with his father. He wrote about meeting new people that came to the camp. All right, lit terms for the week. Our first one is reread. We see this often. One of the reasons that we see this so often is because it's a strategy that should automatically come to your mind. When you don't understand something in a story, you should reread. You should go back and read again to help you understand. Okay, so that's a very important strategy for you to use. That's why you hear it over and over. Theme. The theme is the message or the lesson that the author wants you to understand. Again, we see this often because it's important for us to know that we read for a reason. We're reading to learn something. There's a message that the author has in his story, and that's why he wrote it. Historical fiction is a story that takes place in the past, like the story that we just read. This is a story about people who tried to escape slavery for freedom. Slavery was a thing that actually happened in the past. The story itself is made up. So historical fiction is a story that's made up but takes place in the past based on an event that actually happened. Here, the event that actually happened is that there were slaves, but the story about Lucius and his family is a made up story. Here we have diary entries. A diary is a book that you write in every day. Usually the diaries have a page a day for you to write on with a date so that you can put an entry for every day that you live. You can write about what happens to you. You can write about pretty much anything you want. Most people write in a diary about what happens to them during their life. Okay, like in our story where we had Lucius's entries that we were reading. All right, next we have homophones. Now, we don't normally take grammar in the reading book, but because all of your spelling words this week are homophones, we are going to talk about what homophones are. We have taken homophones before, we're just revising. Homophones are words that are spelled the same. Homophones are words that sound the same, but are spelled differently and have different meanings. Words like root, like the root of a plant, and route, the way that you go to a place, the path you take. Okay, you have many homophones in your spelling list this week. All right. And I do believe that is it for today for reading. So I will see you guys in the next video. Okay.